In today's story, you'll hear about a funny and unexpected morning at a coffee shop, where one small mistake leads to a mix of confusion, laughter, and a surprising connection between two strangers. It was one of those mornings when everything felt slightly off. The alarm hadn't gone off, the toast was burnt, and the bus had left exactly 30 seconds before I reached the stop. By the time I arrived at the coffee shop, I was already late for my meeting and desperately needed caffeine to bring some order into the chaos. The place was packed. The familiar smell of roasted coffee beans filled the air, blending with the faint sound of jazz and the soft chatter of early risers. People were scrolling through their phones, typing on laptops, or staring blankly into space, waiting for their daily shot of energy. I joined the line, rehearsing my order in my head like a script. 1 medium caramel latte, extra shot, oat milk. It sounded simple enough, but my brain was still half asleep, and my mouth felt dry. The barista called, "Next, please," and I stepped forward, trying to sound confident. "Good morning. I'd like a, medium caramel. No, sorry, large. Actually, maybe small. Wait, let's make it medium caramel latte with oat milk. Please." The barista smiled politely, clearly used to morning confusion. "Sure thing. Name for the cup." I hesitated. "Oh, just Alex." "All right, Alex. That'll be $4.50. As I fumbled for coins in my bag, I could feel the impatience of the people behind me. I paid, grabbed the receipt, and stepped aside to wait, telling myself, don't mess up anything else today. But, of course, I had no idea that my day was about to get a lot more complicated. A few minutes later, the barista started calling out names. "Emma, 1 cappuccino with almond milk." "Daniel, large black coffee." Then came Alex, medium caramel latte. I rushed forward, relieved that at least something was finally going right. I grabbed the cup, smiled quickly at the barista, and stepped aside to add a bit of cinnamon on top. The smell was perfect, sweet and rich, exactly what I needed. But as I took my first sip, I froze. Tasted strange. Not bad, but definitely not caramel. More like chai? I looked at the cup again. The handwriting was slightly smudged. Maybe it didn't even say Alex. It could have been Alexa or even Alan. I turned toward the counter, but the line had grown longer. Going back would mean waiting again, and I was already late. I sighed, convincing myself, asterisk, maybe they just tried a new syrup today. It's fine. Asterisk. Just then, I noticed a woman near the window looking around with a confused expression. She was holding a cup, reading the name on it, and frowning. Our eyes met for a moment. She looked at my cup, then back at hers, then back at me. Something told me this coffee situation was about to get much more complicated. The woman stood up, walked toward me, and stopped right in front of my table. She had calm eyes, the kind that looked polite but carried a quiet question behind them. "Excuse me," she said, holding up her cup. "Are you Alex?" I froze for a second, still holding the mysterious latte in my hand. Yes, I think so." "Why?" She smiled awkwardly. "Because I think we might have each other's coffees. Mine says Alex, with a Y, but it's actually a caramel latte. And this," she pointed at her cup, "tastes suspiciously like chai." I laughed nervously. "Oh, that explains everything. I thought they just invented a new flavor called Confusion Spice." She chuckled, setting her cup on my table. "Well, congratulations. You just drank my tea." "And you just drank my caffeine," I replied, pretending to be serious. "I might not survive my meeting now." There was a brief silence, and then we both laughed again. It was ridiculous. Really, two strangers brought together by an innocent coffee mix-up. Around us, the coffee shop buzzed with noise, but for a moment, It felt like everything else had slowed down. She extended her hand. I'm Alex, by the way. With a Y. I get that question a lot. Alex, I said, shaking her hand. Without a Y. But apparently with your coffee. That small misunderstanding had already turned into the most interesting part of my morning. And something told me the story wasn't quite over yet. We decided to sit together for a minute, partly because it felt awkward to just swap cups and leave, and partly because, well, she seemed genuinely interesting. Alex had that calm but sharp energy, like someone who noticed details others missed. So, she said, stirring her latte slowly, are you always this unlucky with coffee? I smiled. Only on weekdays that end with day. She laughed softly. Then you must be a regular here. I used to be, I said, glancing around. But lately, I've been too busy to even remember what my favorite drink is. Ah, the modern tragedy, she said. Too busy for caffeine identity. We both laughed again, but her words stayed with me. There was something about the way she spoke. Light, but meaningful. I found myself wanting to keep the conversation going. After a short pause, she asked, what were you rushing to this morning? Alex without a Y. I hesitated. A presentation. It's one of those meetings where everyone pretends to listen while checking their phones. I was hoping a caramel latte would give me the energy to fake confidence. She tilted her head, smiling. Maybe the universe thought you needed calm instead of caffeine. Hence, the chai. That's one poetic way to look at my misery, I said. Or maybe, she said, leaning forward slightly, it's not a coincidence at all. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? She smiled mysteriously. You'll see. And at that exact moment, my phone buzzed with a message that would turn this small coffee mix-up into something far stranger than either of us expected. The vibration of my phone pulled me back to reality. It was a message from my boss. Asterisk meeting postponed to tomorrow. Make sure the client file is ready. Asterisk. I exhaled deeply, relief mixed with embarrassment. All that rushing, all that stress, for nothing. Alex noticed my expression. Bad news. Actually, the opposite, I said, showing her the screen. The meeting's been moved. Looks like I ran across half the city for no reason. She smiled. Then maybe the universe really wanted you to end up here. Her words lingered in the air longer than they should have. I laughed softly, trying to break the silence. You know, it's funny. I almost complained to the barista about getting the wrong drink. But if I had, I wouldn't have met you. Well, she said with a playful grin, you did steal my chai. Technically, it was an unintentional act of caffeine theft. Still, she replied, crossing her arms, I think an apology is in order. I raised my hands. You're right, I confess. I, Alex without a Y, accidentally stole a stranger's chai latte in cold daylight.
I'm deeply sorry.
Her laugh filled the air. Genuine, light, contagious. Apology accepted, but only if you promise one thing. And what's that? I asked. Next time, she said, you buy the coffee. And this time, make sure it's the right one. I smiled, nodding. Deal. Felt strange, but in a good way. What began as a tiny morning mistake had somehow turned into an unexpectedly honest and refreshing moment. The kind that doesn't happen often in the middle of a busy city morning. When we finally stood up to leave, the cafe had quieted down. The morning rush was over, replaced by the soft rhythm of background chatter and the smell of freshly ground beans. I held the door for Alex, and for a brief moment, I wondered if this mix-up was ever really a mistake. Outside, the city moved as if nothing unusual had happened. People rushing to work, phones ringing, traffic humming. Yet something in me felt different, lighter. Maybe it was the caffeine finally kicking in, Or maybe it was the odd comfort of an honest, random connection in the middle of an ordinary day. Alex turned to me and said, "You know, sometimes the wrong order brings you to the right table." I smiled. "That's one way to describe destiny through coffee." She grinned. "Or maybe just good timing." We exchanged numbers, casually without overthinking, and promised to meet again. This time, not because of a mix-up, but because we actually wanted to. As I walked away, holding the correct cup in my hand, I couldn't help but think that life, much like coffee, doesn't always turn out the way you expect. But sometimes that's exactly what makes it worth tasting. And that was today's story. A simple coffee mix-up that turned into something much more meaningful. Life is full of little accidents that lead to unexpected connections. Isn't it? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel Daily English Academy for more fun and inspiring English stories. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think, and maybe tell me if you've ever had your own coffee shop confusion. See you in the next episode.